Think about, okay, the 40s, 50s, 60s. If the government encouraged families to have kids, if the church, if the community groups, let's have a family. Most people listen to that. Now, in 2026, going into the 2030s.
You don't trust any of it, though.
Right. Why, as a young person, how much trust do you have?
This is where I was going to say, is how much of this is lack of hope and lack of trust?
Canada, Japan, Italy, and South Korea have many things in common, not the least of which they're 4 of the countries in the world with some of the lowest birth rates on the planet, and that's adding to a bit of an issue when it comes to demographics. To talk more about it, Liam DeBoer. Liam, how you doing?
Great, yeah.
And Bradie? You
Hi.
sweet bastard, what's happening?
How are you, man? How are you?
Good.
Thanks, Jim.
It's something I know it's been in the news a lot, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Elon Musk has posted a lot on X about it. He's passionate about it, but there's been scientific research by some of the most in-depth universities on the planet worried about the population changes and how it's going to affect a lot of countries as the aging population outstrips new birth rates. It could be a bit of a future economic crisis.
Yeah, my stance on it is very, like, normally on this network, I don't get too firm in my conservative beliefs, but I'm definitely kind of in the conservative belief system as to why this is happening, and I'll elaborate as we get going.
Now, Liam, for some scientists and some people who spend their life looking at stats and demographics, they're calling it a crisis for a lot of countries, Canada included. Where do you stand on it?
Well, yeah, I for sure see it is. It's driving a lot of different issues, whether it be economic activity. Even what we're seeing with the push towards mass migration, that's obviously being seen as a solution to this. Even the UN released a report about 20 years ago pushing for these exact policies that we see being implemented now in order to deal with that, because we've got large welfare services and social services that need a tax base in order to fund them. And if we have an aging population, not enough people going into the workforce, then they're gonna push for certain levers to pull. So
right now, according to all the numbers, Canadians without kids want roughly 2 kids instead of the average of only 1.25. Now, I thought that was interesting. My partner and I, we have 2 daughters in their 20s. They're both graduated school. They're making their way through business and their chosen careers. But realistically, between the 2 of them, we might get 1 grandkid, because that's just how they view life and everything. And we know a lot of couples our age in the same boat with sons and daughters, but mainly daughters in the same age. They're looking at, if they have a family, it's 1 kid or maybe no kids at all. I think that's, as a country, as Canada and a lot of society in Western Europe and North America, that's becoming more commonly.
Now, is that because they're so busy? Like, you would know this personally with them because obviously you're their father. Is it because they're so busy? Are they waiting? Is it like, have you had this conversation with them?
Our youngest, it's choice. She loves kids, but doesn't think she wants to bring one into the world and raise one.
Okay.
Our oldest definitely would, whether or not she gives birth or adopts. But it's just their attitudes towards family and kids. I think overall, for a lot of young people, especially women and young men in their early mid-20s, it's changed than it was 15, 20 years ago. Well, things have changed. The world has changed.
The reason why I ask, so I'm in my early 40s, right?
Right.
And I knew at 18 I wasn't going to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I made that choice. I was like, I don't know if kind of the same things you're saying. I thought back then, that 24 years ago, that this was maybe a bad idea, that I could see the direction of where things were heading. I obviously can't predict the future, but I just felt like I wasn't going to be in a position where I was able to ever have kids, because I didn't think I would ever have the time to be able to focus on them, that I wanted to be successful. And the only way that I could is by dedicating 10 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week into whatever I was putting my effort into. And I collectively had made that decision at 18. So the reason why I'm asking you is I was just trying to figure out if their decision-making was the same that I had somewhat at that age.
No, I know for our oldest, she's competing, trying to complete her master's, but she definitely down the road as she gets older and more established, she's looking at a family. But Cassandra, our youngest, is like, it's not really her thing, and we totally respect it. She'll be the cool aunt, I guess, if we have a grandkid. But Liam, she's just, it's not for or against. It's just not what she's planning. I don't think things change, but that's not right now in her future. It's nothing she thinks about.
Liam, do you have kids?
I don't. I would love to though.
Okay. So your mentality is that eventually one day you're going to have a family. If you
Actively working towards it.
Okay.
I keep that. It's not, for me, it's not a mentality of, okay, I got to do XYZ thing before I make that step. It's more so trying to find somebody that wants to approach it the same as I do. Because what I find a lot in the modern dating market is that people assume things like a family and kids and all of that is going to just, we don't think about it. We just enjoy each other's time and company, and we're here to have fun, and that things will kind of just come together. They'll fall together. And I'm like, no, that's not how I want to go about it though, because that's how I think a lot of families end up dysfunctional.
Right.
Is I kind of want to go into it with a little bit more awareness and more planning, and being like, okay, you know, what is this going to look like?
And have a partner with a similar mindset.
Right. And that's what I found the most difficult part, is finding somebody that values it to the same degree that I would.
Because I was 32 before I met my wife, and up until then, the thought of having a family or kid was not in my mindset whatsoever. As I got older, I just thought, and then I met someone, and then we realized, you know, we were in sync in so many things, and eventually got married and had kids. But up until then, you know, like, no, I was like, oh, I guess it's not happening.
And I think a big part too, when we're talking about that disconnect between how many kids people want versus how many they actually have, is, and I see this across the board in so many different discussions, not necessarily just families, but people wanting the reward of something, but not the cost input.
Interesting.
And so it's like, I want the reward of this amazing family, or you see the same thing with business and career and money. Like I want to be rich, and then, but you go, well, here's the cost, here's the price tag. And they don't want to pay that, which is the time, the effort, the responsibility, and so on.
There was a fascinating report that came out just yesterday. For the first time in U.S. history, women over 40 are having more babies than teenagers.
Yeah, you were saying that.
And that shocked a lot of people. So for years, especially in American society, agricultural, rural society, a woman having a child at 18, 19 was not unusual at all.
I knew when I was young, I had friends that were having kids at 15, right? I knew girls as young as 14 having kids.
Yeah. Which we don't recommend, but it did happen.
No, but I mean, it happened in my generation in the late 90s. I knew numerous people.
And so I think a lot of that is education among young women, sex education, the ability to make sure you have proper birth control and the different varieties of it. That's changed. And you know, there's been many studies that post-COVID, a lot of young people aren't socializing like they did pre-COVID. There has been a social shift about when you meet someone, how you meet someone, and maybe there's going to be a gap until you sort of mature out of that struggle of post-COVID that hit a lot of people, and then find that person, that partner you're looking for in life.
So when you see this in the news, and when we see facts that are put together like this, we're getting a lot of the facts as to the numbers, as to it's declining, and we know it's declining.
Yes.
And we can share our opinions as to why we think it's declining all we want. But has there ever been a report that says directly, why is this declining? In Canada specifically.
Well, Liam, the floor is yours.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's tough because I don't view the world in the way that it unfolds as a linear cause, because in terms of like A doesn't cause B, which causes C, which causes D. It's more like a network where they all have effects on one another. And we even see this in terms of like bad habits. You could think about this as like a societal bad habit that we've had towards family building and relationships. But even just on a more personal scale, you could think about it in terms of, well, okay, people they binge eat because they don't feel good about themselves, but then they don't feel good about themselves because they binge eat.
The number one,
it's like a spiral.
The number one sold thing during the Depression, candy.
Yeah.
I've brought that up a few times.
For during the pandemic?
No, the actual Depression.
Oh, the Depression, like the 1920s.
Candy.
Really?
Number one sold item.
And so I think the same
Makes you feel
thing
good.
happens here, where we've got a bunch of different aspects, whether it be economics, social ideals, all of these kind of things that are all factors weighing in on the issue itself. And so I think it's multifaceted, but I do believe the number one would be the ideal breakdown of these, especially in the institutions have been pushing away from them for quite a while now, But after the 1960s is when we very much changed social